Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the City Council meeting of September 28th, 2020 to order. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Beckin,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Leo,
Here.
Lewis,
Here.
Peterson,
Here.
Verplank,
Here.
Prester.
Here. All present. Thank you. Next is approval of the minutes of the regular City Council meeting of September 14th. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of 9/24/20 as amended. And I would like to amend item 13B under new business to read various city boards and commission reappointments. The motion was made by Lewis, seconded by Leo, to approve the mayor's reappointments of Jim Muir to the Zoning Board of Appeals, Stephen Mans to the Planning Commission, and Daniel Panozzo to the Historic District Commission. Upon roll call vote, the motion carried unanimously.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Johnson, seconded by Peterson to approve the minutes as amended. Gary?
Just a note of explanation. It read that the mayor's reappointments were approved, but I think for the historic record, so people have to go back to the last meeting, it's good to put the names that were approved in those current minutes.
Yeah, I would agree. Any other discussion?
So Barry, you meant September the 14th, right? Not September the 24th.
Yeah, I did. I guess a typo. So, yeah. 14. Take it, Garnet.
Yep.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Holly? Nope, okay. Clerk, would you call the vote, please?
Yes, Johnson,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Beckin,
Yes.
Leo,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Trester,
Yes.
Verplank.
Yes.
The minutes are approved. Under mayor's comments, I just wanted to mention how successful we seem to have been in Saugatuck over the months here. I've been doing a little straw polling of business owners downtown, and almost all of them are reporting really, really good business results over the summer. I think the weather was a big ally of ours, but I also think that our adherence to the COVID orders was a big factor, because we were able to make people feel comfortable, both our visitors and the tourists, that we were doing everything we can to protect them. I know there were, lapses along the way, but I think as a whole, we did a pretty good job. We just looked at the Allegan County records today, and Saugatuck has recorded 14 cases and Douglas 9. So we've been doing pretty good in a state that's cases have been increasing kind of drastically recently. So with that, I'll move along to city manager comments. Anything, Karen?
I have none.
All right. Next item is proposed changes to the agenda. Anyone have a proposal? Hearing none, we will move to guest speakers. Brett Insfield is listed here. Brett, are you on?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I just got one thing. I met with Karen last week. I had a good conversation with her. Got on the same page for a game plan for the policing and everything. Kind of answered any questions she had for me, and exchanged numbers. So we got that all taken care of. And other than that, yeah, it's been busy on the weekends, so that's good for the businesses. It's definitely been busier than what it has in the past. So with people in town, but no major incidents to report or anything like that. So that's about where we stand. So
Thanks, Brett. Any questions for Lieutenant Insfield? Chris?
I have one. Thanks, Brett. This is just something that came to me. Somebody said that there had been a car show at the Shell station, and when some of those cars went down Lakeshore, they were damaged. Is that?
yeah,
Okay.
I saw that on Facebook. I didn't, other than seeing it on Facebook, my wife had said something to me about it sounded like it happened in Douglas. So, but other than that, I hadn't heard any more reports. I was going to try to talk to Steve this week and see if there's anything that we could assist with, or if we could try to figure out who the suspect is. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Brett.
not a problem. You guys have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Next is public comment on agenda items only. If you wish to make a comment, please unmute yourself and announce your name and where you reside. And please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Anyone wish to make a comment?
Yes, please, Lauren Stanton.
Lauren, yep. And where you reside?
All right, I'm Lauren Stanton. I live at 740 Lake Street in Saugatuck, and of course I'm running for City Council this year. I just wanted to quickly address the agenda item relating to the more than $75,000 in taxpayer dollars going to our departing city manager for accrued paid time off. Looking at the agenda packet, I was shocked to see that. Just doing the math, for every year Kirk was employed, he didn't use 2.5 weeks of PTO, over 1,400 hours he didn't use that apparently the city allows to continually roll over. And now we all have to pay for it. Just being in the corporate world for more than 20 years, if you didn't use your PTO, by the end of the year, you would lose it. Or there would at least be a cap on how much you were able to roll over. Just seeing all of this, I just feel like the city is very generous, good for Kirk, but not so good for city taxpayers. And I just want to know for the future, who's responsible for providing oversight of PTO taken and accrued by the city manager of Saugatuck? I think we should re-examine this when we hire the next city manager, and also how many more city employees we will be paying out this kind of money when they leave the city. I just feel this is really poor stewardship of taxpayer resources. This combined with the previous discussions on needless attorney expenses and the continued overuse of consultants and professional services, it's just really no wonder why city residents are wondering why we don't see the tangible benefits of our taxpayer dollars like other communities. And I also want to mention, it is really interesting to see such a robust agenda tonight, so close to an election. Most of the items are cans this council has been kicking down the road. Anyone who's been paying attention the last couple of years would know prior to these Zoom calls, the agendas were so disturbingly light, despite needing decisions made on crucial issues from flooding to pop-up patios. And speaking of which, I am in favor of keeping our pop-up patios as a permanent fixture in Saugatuck, COVID or no COVID. They are an amazing addition, absolutely amazing addition to our area. And I'm just really proud of how that has helped. And I just want to just say that, that the fall decorations look amazing. And I just hope that our Christmas decorations, our holiday tree lighting decorations have the same kind of flavor that our fall decorations have. Big ups to Greg Muncie and the team of volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make a comment?
Todd Hoskins.
Todd? Go ahead.
Todd Hoskins, 350 North Maple Street. As someone who has worked in business consulting, my concern about Kirk Harrier's payout is mainly about the future of the city. Kirk worked really hard, and I think everyone knows how hard Kirk worked. And for the well-being and retaining employees in the future, which is something that we need to be committed to, we need to mandate that city employees do take time off. They don't need to take off all their allotted time every year, but letting it accrue like this is not good for the well-being of the employees, And like Lauren said, it's not good for the taxpayers.
All right, thank you, Todd. Anyone else wish to make a comment?
I'd like to make a comment about agenda. I'm Barbara, oh, excuse me.
Please.
Barbara Lucier, 1035 Park Street.
Thank you.
I would like to make a comment about agenda item G, the non-motorized trail. This is when I got the packet, I looked over the proposal and I was struck that it only considers Park Street up to Perryman. And it seems to me, as a person who lives at the far end of Park Street, that the most dangerous part is between the Chain Ferry and Mount Baldy. And are there plans to look into that area? I hope there are.
All right, we'll answer that when we get to that item in the agenda. Thank you for the comment.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Mr. Fox.
Good evening. I'll make it short. Dan Fox, City of Saugatuck. Relative to item 13G, the non-motorized trail committee, reconstituting it or reinstituting it. I would simply ask the members, the two members from Saugatuck who are on that committee with members from the other jurisdictions, as well as the county road commission, whomever, that this time when they elect a chairperson for the committee, they elect somebody with the experience it takes to be a chairperson. And will exercise the responsibility specifically calling meetings, recording the meetings, and making the results of the meetings known to all the constituents. The trail has been a hot topic. I think it's maybe a lukewarm topic now, but it's still an important topic. It deserves the committee's best efforts. And I would note that in the resolution you're going to vote on this evening, the provision in the resolution is for a written report by the 1st of June, which is roughly 9 months, almost exactly from right now. So that committee has its work to do, its meetings to conduct, and its report to issue. And it's a broad report, which is also included in their broad subject. So that's my request, that you get somebody to run the committee who has the experience to actually get it done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Jane?
Yes, I'm a little bit confused. 13G, is that Park Street or the bike trail, or both? There seems to be a little confusion here.
No. Aaron, can you clarify that?
That's the bike trail.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay. Anyone else? Dean, I think you raised your hand.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Scott Dean of 544 St. Joseph Street. Item 13B, I'd just like to note that, in the 20-some years I worked in the corporate sector, we rarely would ever allow that much paid time off to be carried over to a following year. I would urge the council to look at that policy and revamp it to make it more fitting. Typically, employees are only allowed to carry over 40 hours or so, and I think it's something that can really hit us with a unplanned cost in future years if we continue to have such a policy in the city. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, I believe I saw Sherry Tadaldi's hand up.
Sherry?
No, I did not. If I did that, it was not, it was an accident.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry.
Anyone else?
Yes, Kim Bowden for 15 grand. I'm not sure how we got here, but item 13F, the impeding public beach walking situation, continues to be a safety hazard. You know, I moved to this community to enjoy walking along Lake Michigan, not to wonder if today is the day that I'm going to be injured. My dog has been injured. I've been bruised. I've been scraped, and I'm just tired of the frustration, and I just urge the city council to take some action. The frustration is felt by anybody who walks that area of the beach. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Last call. Anyone else wish to talk? Then we'll move on to approval of accounts payable. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, this is Garn.
Karen?
Move to approve accounts payable in the amount of $2,431,919.66.
Second.
Moved by Lewis, second by Peterson to approve the accounts payable. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is Garnet again. Can you clarify for me, please, items number 6 and number 12, flooding, what those were pertaining to? I don't know if Pete's on the line. Borst Metalworks and Aetna Supply.
Yeah,
There he is.
I'm here. The Borst Metal Supply is down there in the corner of Lucy and Water Street, where we put the sump pumps in the street. They created, with guidance from Scott and the fire chief, basically a metal grate over it to be safe for the winter months that are coming upon us. So that's what is over that. That's
Okay.
That one is for the street flooding there. What was the other invoice?
Aetna Supply, $640, flooding.
That was another, some kind of one horse sewage pump
Okay,
for the flooding.
okay.
Any other questions, discussion? Then we'll do the vote. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Lewis,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Becken,
Yes.
Leo,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Trester.
Yes. The accounts payable are approved. There are no ordinances to be introduced, no public hearings, no unfinished business. We move to the new business. First is the reappointment of Kathy Johnson to the Interurban Transit Authority Board. Karen, do you have an intro on this, or, I mean, it's pretty apparent. Kathy's been on the board.
Sure.
Oh, go
You
ahead.
have a request from the Interurban for the reappointment of Kathy Johnson. In the cover memo, I explained that because this is a paid board position, that anyone who's related to this person should recuse themselves before the vote. And normally our charter says that if a person is related, you know, there might be issues there. However, in regards to supervision, however, this person is not supervised by her relative, also an employee of the city, that it is permissible, subject to review by the council.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Hold on.
Chris?
Yes, I move we reappoint Kathy Johnson to the Interurban Transit Authority Board.
I second it.
That was Jane. Moved by Peterson, second by Verplank to reappoint Kathy Johnson to the Interurban Board. Any discussion? Gary?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am the named person. I will recuse myself because my direct relationship with the candidate
Very well. Any other discussion? Then let's call the roll for a vote. Karen?
Peterson,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Leo,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Becken,
Yes.
Truster.
Yes. Now the appointment is approved. Next item is the paid time off agreement. I would point out that under city policy, the former city manager is entitled to this payoff. The question before us here is to spread the payout over a period of 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. So this is not to approve the payout, it's to approve the manner in which it is paid. So is there a motion?
Let's
Mayor?
see.
Chris,
I move we approve the payout, paid time off agreement as presented.
I'll
is there a
second.
second?
I'll second.
Moved by Peterson, second by Verplank to approve
No.
the payout agreement. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, this is Garnet.
Jane was slightly first. Go ahead.
Okay.
I just want to point out that in October of 2019, we passed a new personnel policy handbook. And when we did that, we discussed this whole issue of people accumulating a lot of paid time off. Monica was also paid a large sum of money for her accumulated time off. This is probably something we should address with personnel. We don't have enough personnel. People can't take time off because there's no one to cover for them. I know this summer Kirk tried to take time off and was constantly called back to do this and that while he was on vacation. Peter tried to take 5 days of vacation, ended up with 3. So this is a difficult problem for the city, but we have addressed it in the past. And I believe it says in our personnel policies that you can't accumulate huge PTO anymore. So, but you will be paid for PTO.
Yes. Garnet, did you wish to go next?
Yeah, thank you. I certainly appreciate that, Jane. And I recognize 2 things, that the agreement was signed, I think, July of 2018 with Kirk. And then, as you mentioned, the handbook and the policies, October of 2019. That was before I arrived on council, that I was fortunate enough to be elected. Quite frankly, had I been on council, I would have raised this as a red flag. Because of my time in the world of academia and in the corporate world, allowing this large of an accrual is basically unheard of. What I would suggest that in the future, that we utilize the resources of the Michigan Municipal League in writing a contract with the next manager for this city. I certainly support rewarding folks for good work performance, and I certainly support providing paid time off. I think we certainly have a responsibility to our taxpayers in this city to make sure that we are managing their tax dollars wisely while also rewarding our staff. So I think it's important that we, from a fiduciary perspective, improve upon the way in which we develop these contracts. And secondly, that we improve upon the way in which we encourage our staff to have a work-life balance. I recognize that we are short-staffed, but there are a lot of cities of similar size that manage to do quite well with the staff that they have. And I think it comes down to the way in which they are managed and led. So as a city council, we have a responsibility to ensure that they do that. So moving forward, I'll certainly make a point that we not do such a contract, but God bless them for negotiating this one. So, it's certainly to be admired. Thank you.
Well, I agree with the comments about in the outside business world, this is a very rich benefit. there would be caps put on the PTO that you could accrue. But we didn't do that, so we're bound under a contract that we now need to honor. Any other comments?
Ken.
Holly had her hand up.
Okay.
Mark, go ahead.
My comment, I guess, kind of follows that a lot of our employee handbook practices are provided by the MLL, the Michigan Municipal League. I don't know specifically without researching it if Kirk's contract specifically went hand in hand with the MML, but the MML has always provided us a template for our employee contracts, along with our job descriptions. And we recently went through a whole review of our payroll, the payroll we pay our employees based on similar community sizes for various positions within our city. So, but those are good comments, and I'm all for when we enter into a new contract, review all those specifics.
Great. Where were we? Jane, Holly, did you?
Yes,
yes. Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I would just say we all have a fiduciary responsibility to the citizens, and I think this was a non-standard. It's just unusual, as some other commentators have said, to be able to accrue your PTO year over year and not have a hard stop on that period of where the time is just accruing. And it's good for our citizens, it's good for our employees, and it's good for just good governance. So I agree with what's been said. I think going forward, we need to put that into a contract because it's a lot of money. So I was taken aback by that. And I hope that we will encourage our employees going forward to take the time off that they need and make that happen. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jane?
Well, I just want to back up Mark. The MML did write the new handbook, and we have to remember Kirk worked for us for almost 15 years, and he deserves this money. He didn't take time off. He didn't have the opportunity to take time off, and more pressure was put on him over the years. And maybe it's a good thing we don't have to pay him for all the hours he worked, because I know he worked a whole lot more than what he got paid for. At the end, he was putting in 50 and 60 hours a week, and I think people need to know that.
Any other discussion? Then we'll go to the vote. Aaron, would you call the roll, please?
Peterson.
Yes.
Verplank.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Leo.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Becken.
Yes.
Trester.
Yes. The agreement is approved. Next is the city manager executive search firm. We had presentations by 3 excellent firms last week at our workshop, and tonight we hope we can decide and pick one. The process that some of us have discussed would be to just go around the table, probably in alphabetical order, and have each of us talk about the preferred candidate and see if there's a consensus or enough votes, if you will, to move in that direction. Then somebody can make a motion to nominate that firm. If not, if we're split on it, we'll just work our way through the firms in terms of motions until one passes. Barry?
I'm uncomfortable with that. Discussion before a motion generally does not occur during an official meeting, and it's almost like a vote. So I like the spirit of it, but I think we just got to work our way through it. And unfortunately, if somebody gets nominated, not accepted, that's what we got to do. So I'm uncomfortable with that.
Okay, how about others?
That's fine by me.
Yeah, me too.
What's fine?
Yeah, which
That,
one?
as you suggested, Ken,
Oh,
as you suggested.
Okay, I bow to the will of the council, but that's my thoughts.
others?
I'm good. I'm good with Ken's recommendation.
Okay, then we'll go in that direction. All right, so if we do this in alphabetical order, we'll start with Mark.
Okay, is my audio coming through echoing or can you hear me okay?
When you talk closer to your microphone, you sound better than when you're far away. There's an echo in there.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on. Anyways, hey, I prefer the Walsh firm. Based on the fact they recently did the Douglas Village manager search and the township manager search. Familiar with our area. They've got the most competitive cost. I had the chance to ask Pat Lyon, the Douglas mayor, what she thought about Walsh, and she was very, very pleased. Highly recommends it, said we can use her name as a referral. She said she sat in on every interview with Mr. Walsh and couldn't have been more satisfied with how it was handled.
Thank you. Barry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Three great firms. I often lean towards the Michigan Municipal League, but I thought Amy Sell did a very good presentation, but I'm leaning towards Walsh for the reason, again, that he has local knowledge, worked with our local communities, and tough choice, but I would probably lean that way.
I didn't catch the last statement. So you'd be favoring Welsh right now?
Yes, because of his familiarity with the area and the local communities.
Thank you. Okay, Holly?
Thank you. I think any of the three would be fine. Honestly, I think the fact that this is a great community and this information will be available pretty much to the same pool of candidates, no matter which one of these three firms we choose. I was impressed with all three, and I'm open to any of the three. I think we'll get a nice result. I expect that this will be competitive and that we should have a nice pool.
Okay. Garnet?
Yeah, I too was impressed with all three. I enjoyed their presentations. I'm leaning towards Amy Sell. Quite frankly, I appreciated her responses as far as the competition of their group to see who gets to come here and stay here. And I like the fact that they were actually interested in doing that. But my friends over in Douglas speak very highly of Mr. Walsh. So I would lean towards Amy Sell, but I'm happy with the group's decision.
Okay, Chris?
I agree. All three of them were fantastic from enthusiasm to knowledge to background. I lean towards Mr. Walsh for the same reason that Mark first said. He probably knows more about what we need to look at than we do ourselves because he's done the township and Douglas. So that would be my preference.
Okay, Jane?
I'm familiar with Mr. Walsh's work. All three candidates were fine, but I'm also familiar with what Frank does, and I think he'll be a good candidate. And he knows the area, so why reinvent the wheel? So I'm good with that.
Okay. And for my part, I was impressed with all three of these firms. They're really good. I lean towards Amy Sell because her firm does a lot of, I guess what they call talent development and retention work in addition to recruitment. I'm intrigued by a company that's bigger than just doing the hen hunting part of it. And I was also thought it was an advantage for her to appoint herself to be the account manager, and clearly they like Saugatuck a lot. So that's where I would put my vote. It looks like we have kind of a leaning towards Frank Walsh, however. So why don't I entertain a motion to select that firm, and then we can go from there.
All right, Mr. Mayor, this is Garnet. Motion to approve the proposal of Walsh Consulting LLC for conducting the city manager search.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mark, I think you had your hand up to second. Correct. Okay. Moved by Lewis, second by Becken to approve retaining the Walsh firm for the executive search. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then call the roll.
Ken?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should there be a not to exceed number in there, or a number of at which we're going to pay Mr. Walsh?
Based on the proposal.
Well, if we're accepting his proposal, the fee is in the proposal.
All right.
I would agree with that.
Fine.
Okay. Then Aaron, would you call the vote, please?
Lewis,
Yes.
Becken,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Leo,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Trester.
Yes. Congratulations, Frank. We'll look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I will work very hard for the community and keep a good communication with all of you throughout the process. I'm honored to be selected. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the pop-up patio November extension. We have we discussed this at the workshop, and our biggest concern was that we have a heavy snow, and the pop-up patios would have to be removable if we have to plow snow in November. But beyond that, I think there was pretty favorable receptivity to this. Is there a motion? Chris?
I move that we approve the pop-up patio through November 30th.
Second? Moved by Peterson, second by Johnson. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Chris.
I think as your little survey did, they were a fantastic success. And again, we are moving into probably some bad weather. This next 10 days certainly isn't going to be conducive to people sitting outside, but we've had 2 people that were interested in doing it. One which would have a liquor license and so would not have a tent or anything like that, but would extend that till November 3rd. And the other person that was from Uncommon Grounds, they asked to have a tent. I'd like to have some input on the tent. Cindy wrote up the new application form, and it does not include a tent. Tent really presented a lot of issues, but again, the person that wanted that did not have the liquor license, and so it didn't have to worry about not being able to have a tent. I think that it's a good training ground for us, because I have a feeling that in March, we're going to have a lot of our pop-up patios want to start early. And so I think this is a good dry run with groups that we can handle. And I strongly support this.
So, any other comment, Barry?
Thank you. I think this is a good thing. And in regards to a tent at one of the non-liquor establishments, I know the owner, and he's extremely responsible, and I know that he will cooperate with the fire marshal. And if any heating's to be done, I know that he will partner with us to make it a safe endeavor.
Thanks. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor, this is Garnet. I believe that very item is on the agenda for the Historic District Commission meeting this Thursday. 127 Hoffman Street, retractable awnings. It's on the agenda.
Okay.
Question?
Chris?
Is that in common grounds, Garnet?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think he was looking
Yeah.
at retractable. He was looking more at,
Yeah, let's see. That's what it says on her note. That Guy came in. Guy from Uncommon Grounds came in this morning and asked to be on this week's agenda.
okay.
So Tim and I accepted his late request.
Perfect. That's a little change then, because in Cindy's application right now, it does not allow tents. So if he's moving in another direction, then it comes off the table.
Mark?
Regarding tents in the city right away, once they're enclosed, question I got, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on.
You have your phone and your computer going, Mark?
No, I got two sign-ins. I don't know how that is.
Yeah.
So, anyways, bear with me. Oops, I'm out.
I think you're okay now. Go ahead.
Okay, which is good. You don't need to look at my face anyway. So,
You had two. I just put just the audio in the waiting room,
okay, am I coming through okay now?
so we can see you on video. Yes.
Okay. Anyways, the question I think needs to be addressed is if a enclosure happens on the city right of way, that could mean that it becomes subject to the 50% occupancy limit. I don't know, but that would have to be checked into. So someone may want to enclose their pop-up patio that has 6 tables, but they might only be eligible for 3 tables. I'm not saying I'm for one or the other, but I think that has to be determined. I think it's different if someone like Uncommon Grounds wants to put a retractable awning and enclosure over his deck. That's different than putting an enclosure in the city right away. So I just wanted to, point that out.
Okay,
Mr.
Chris?
I think Cindy researched that, and Cindy, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it did. If you enclosed it, became part of your square footage, and you had to reduce it to 50%.
Yes, if I could, Mr. Mayor, answer a few of those questions. Uncommon Grounds came to me this morning, and they're not going to be seeking to extend their pop-up patio into November. They're going to be seeking to put some retractable awnings over their front porch, and enclose the bottom half of the patio with a plexiglass screen inside of the handrail to help keep the cold out. And they will be taking that to the Historic District Commission this week because it is on private property, not on public property. So that was his latest and greatest program that he's proposing to do this fall. But as far as I'm concerned, the other one still wants to have something in the right of way in the street. I just worry about a tent being not only enclosed, but a hazard for traffic. It's hard enough to see when people walk out from behind a car. And if they're walking out from behind a tent, that's especially hazardous for vehicular traffic and pedestrian traffic. So that's why I shied away from the tents more than anything else. Yes, if they do have a tent or an enclosure, whether it be on private property or public property, it does reduce their occupant load to 50%, as long as the governor's rules stay the same as they are right now. We don't ever know when they're going to change and be more restrictive or less restrictive, but under the current rules, it would limit him to 50%.
Okay, thank you. Jane, I think you wanted to make a comment.
No, Cindy covered it. Chris and Cindy and I met with Guy and talked about the tent. So if the tent's gone, the tent's gone. I think that's probably best. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Cindy, I have a question.
Holly?
So you're talking about tents, but it sounds like you're talking about tents with sides.
Yes, There,
You're not talking about a tent structure, and then if someone does plexi or something else, and just a roof, you're talking about sides, because you're talking about a visual obstruction.
that would be for the traffic issue. In addition, those sides would have to be approved by the fire department, and I'm pretty sure plexi is not going to be approved by the fire department. But they would create an enclosure that would limit you to 50%, whether it was plexi or cotton fibers or bricks. That's an enclosure. So that's under the current guidelines from our governor that would limit you to the 50%.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Then we'll call the question. The motion is to approve the zoning administrator authority to extend these permits through the end of November 2020. Aaron, would you call the roll?
Peterson? Johnson?
Yes.
Becken?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yes.
Truster?
Yes. So the pop-up patio extension is approved. The next item is Chip's ground cover Christmas scape proposal. Chris, you want to reintroduce this again?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last year, we did a 3-year contract with Chip's Ground Cover to do the Christmas lighting. And we had a budget from the city as well as donations from people. And in essence, I think the result was not what we wanted. And so this year we want to make sure that we're all on the same page. What we ran into last year was we got the trunks wrapped, but then because of the 10-foot variance you have to have around the power lines, they could not go up into the branches and do canopy or branch wrapping because they have to stay 10 feet away from the power lines. If you look at on the other 2 pages that are in your packet, he drew out all of the streets that we're going to do, and that bright yellow line that goes through, those are where the power lines are. So in essence, it hops across streets. So it'll be on one side of the street and then flip over to the other side of the street. So you're kind of alternating which trees you can light and which you can't light. I think the consensus was, after walking it with him several times, as well as 2 other council members and other people from the previous committee, the goal was to have it as close as it could be to when we had the snowflakes. And in order to do that, because we can't get the snowflakes anymore, to do that, you need to do a canopy wrapping, which is going to require a cherry picker. Nick found a linesman, electrician, who is able to do tree wrapping and not have to worry about the 10-foot impediment. And so the proposal right before you is broken into 3 sections. The first section for $11,160 is what we did last year. In addition, then, if you go down to number 2, the new item, that is what Chip can do with his crew. And they can go in and do the trees where there is no lighting, or excuse me, there is no power lines, and he can put that up, branch wrap, canopy wrap. He has each tree on that diagram to show you whether it's a small, medium, or large tree and what the wrapping will look like. The last part is for an estimated 10,000 lights. That's more on top of what we already have. This is the certified electrical linesman installation, and that is $5,810. So it's a combination of $21,145. As we all know, we want this to be outstanding so that people can actually look at it as the destination. Nick with Chip's ground cover and his people will have number 1 and number 2 done. Number 3, they're going to have to work around the linesman a little bit. They can't guarantee that that would be done before Thanksgiving like Chip's work will do. So the budget amendment, because the contract is over $10,000, is before you is $21,145. There might be a little discrepancy on the actual numbers, but it should be $21,145. And my understanding is Peter would like to have this approved and October 12th, because he has another budget amendment change that'll go through then.
All right. Is there a motion?
I'll do it.
Chris?
I move to apply the proposal dated 9/21/2020 from CHIPS Ground Cover in the amount of $21,145 to provide holiday lighting services to the city of Saugatuck, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to effectuate the agreement contingent on city council approving a budget amendment at the October 12th, 2020 regular meeting to appropriate the necessary funds.
Is there a second? Barry? Barry? You're muted.
I was, thank you. I second.
Moved by Peterson, seconded by Johnson to approve this budget amendment. Discussion.
So, Mr. Mayor, this is Garnet,
Go ahead.
if I may. Chris, maybe you can tell me, I think you'd mentioned before that there was some fundraising involved with this, that actually some of the business owners will chip in, or is this from last year that I'm remembering this?
That was from last year. We have not actually, other than a request to the CVB, not gone out to fundraise for this year.
And last year, just to help me out, what was the cost of the proposal last year, and how much did you raise?
Last year, CHIPS ground cover was $12,905. We also had additional Christmas tree lighting and garlands for our own parks, about $1,400. And then what we had to do last year, which was a one-time expense, we had $7,000 of electrical upgrades. So this year we will not have that cost. Peter had the list of the people that donated before. Again, we have not gone out specifically other than a request to the CVB.
Jane?
So if the CVB comes through with $5,000, will that come off from this 20,000? 21,000?
It would it not, Chris?
It should, but I don't want to put that in there in case they don't do it. So this is
Mr. Mayor.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Karen.
This is Karen. In actuality, the increased revenue and the expense will wash each other, but you will still have to approve the full amount and do a budget amendment of $6,000 to cover the full amount. But as far as the money goes, yes, they'll offset each other.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions? Discussion. Then we'll call the vote on the motion to approve this budget amendment. Aaron?
Peterson?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Lewis?
No, and with the reason that I'd like to see more detail on how we're going to raise this money. So, no.
Becken?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yes.
Trester?
Yes. The budget amendment is approved. Next is item F, resolution number 200-928-A, requesting action regarding shoreline alterations and erosion control. I'm getting to that part of my display here. Barry, I wonder if you wouldn't want to speak to this first. Barry?
Okay. I was going to actually make a motion and speak about it.
That would be in order. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 200-928-A as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Johnson, second by Peterson, to approve resolution 200-928-A. Barry, would you like to speak to this first?
Yeah, I will speak to it, but I think it's our legal team has laid it out pretty clear. And so my explanation really goes along with the resolution, which I would like to read with your permission. It's pretty short. And just noting that this was brought to my attention by citizens of Saugatuck, voters in the city of Saugatuck. And I'm following through at their request.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and read the resolution?
Okay. The city of Saugatuck has thousands of feet of Lake Michigan water frontage within its jurisdiction. There's a relatively new private single-family housing development called Dunegrass, located on Lake Michigan frontage within Saugatuck. To the north of Dunegrass is Oval Beach, a lakefront city park. In the past, a significant number of members of the public, including Saugatuck residents, have walked the beach lakeward of the ordinary high water mark line, the Dunes Lake, along the Dunes Grass Lake, Dunegrass Lake frontage, which is lawfully protected pursuant to Michigan Supreme Court case of Glass versus Geckel 473, Michigan 667 of 2005. Unusually high water levels in Lake Michigan has made beach walking along the Dunegrass Lake frontage difficult for the past few years. In addition, new erosion control devices and items that have been recently installed by property owners have further hindered the ability of members of the public to walk the beaches adjacent to Dunegrass. Some of the erosion control appears to be up to 600 feet in length. The Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy issued a permit to the Hewley family to install or expand erosion controls along the beach, and the permit and approvals for such shoreline modification is presently being challenged in a contested case hearing in EGLE case number 20-009433, which is the pending case. By the way, Saugatuck is not involved in that case. Saugatuck is concerned with Eagle fully performed its due diligence regarding the Hewley permit with regard to the impact of the newer or expanded erosion controls on not only the critical dunes and environment, but also the ability of beach walkers to traverse the beach adjacent to the Hewley property, both now and when the water levels recede. Saugatuck is also concerned about the impact that the new expanded erosion controls will have when the water line recedes and whether the structures will impede public beach walking at that time. Now be it resolved. The provisions set forth above are acknowledged to be accurate and are incorporated herein as if fully related. Saugatuck respectfully requests the administrative law judge in the pending case review whether Eagle performed its full due diligence prior to issuing the Hewley permit, and particularly with regard to examining the following areas: any adverse environmental impacts on critical dunes, the shoreline, and the environment in general, negative impacts upon the ability of members of the public, including Saugatuck residents, to walk along the beach pursuant to Glass versus Geckel, whether any of the new or expanded erosion controls will be visible when the waters of Lake Michigan recede, and whether they will negatively impact the ability of the public to walk the beach, whether the structure will affect beach erosion to the south and threaten homes that have been safely used in the dunes there for generations. To the extent that the erosion controls will likely cause any of the above mentioned negative impacts mentioned in section 2 hereof, require that the Hewleys modify the erosion controls accordingly. The Saugatuck City Council shall forward a copy of this resolution to Eagle, and also the administrative law judge in case number 20-009433, as well as the United States Army Corps of Engineers and the Allegan County Clerk. So, Mr. Mayor, that is the gist of it. In fact, that's exactly it. And if we're not getting into a lawsuit, we are just asking the judge respectfully to do their due diligence and review the permit and with the 4 things that we mentioned that we are curious about.
Very well. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Chris?
this maybe is for Barry as well as you. How does this tie in with the Medler letter that we received? Because that has gone to our attorney, right?
Yeah, Barry, do you have that?
You know, the Medler letter stands on its own. That's an attorney review. And this is something we've been discussing probably for a month. So Medler will happen. This is our action potentially tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Ken, it's Mark.
No.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Okay. At first I was kind of cool to this this motion, this resolution, but there's so much unknown, unfamiliarity with the new Eagle laws regarding protection of people's property along Lake Michigan due to high water. I guess I'll take the approach that this is more of an education process. We're not really engaging in the lawsuit, but I think what we're doing is educating ourselves and providing additional information to our citizens on the process involved with installation of these erosion control items. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any other discussion, comments? Holly?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Holly.
No, go ahead, Garb.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate us moving forward on this. I think our citizens are looking for some answers, and with us requesting the administrative law judge to basically review with Eagle whether it performed its due diligence, I think is very important to our residents over there. So it's a good step forward, and we'll see what comes back. I hope we get something relatively quickly. I'd love to know how soon we hope to hear something, if anybody has any idea.
Right. Anyone else?
Mayor, I'm not sure if you can see Cindy Osmond has her hand raised. I believe she's been working on this issue.
Yeah, I couldn't see. Cindy, go ahead.
I did get with our city attorney on this issue, and he is looking into the Gary Medler letter. He has gotten back to me with some very, very preliminary results, but I should have more for you by next week, or certainly by the next council meeting.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, then we'll take a vote on this. Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Johnson?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Becken?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Trester?
Yes. Resolution number 200-928-A is approved. Next is resolution number 200-928-B, authorizing the non-motorized trail committee. Essentially, this resolution is to establish the committee as it had been, with the exception of renewing its authorization date. So in other words, this would establish the committee and ask for a report by June 1st. If we choose to pass this tonight, we will then go to the city of Douglas and the Saugatuck Township and the Friends of the Bike Trail to see if they're interested in continuing to have this committee do its work. So I would look for a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Mr. Mayor,
Chris?
I move that we approve resolution number 200928-B as presented.
Second.
I second.
Moved by Peterson, seconded by Leo to approve the resolution. Discussion. Barry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I definitely in favor of this. It doesn't make any mention, I don't think, that the committee members will be the same people, and we can cross that bridge when we come to it.
Indeed. Jane?
Mr.
Jane?
Mayor, I think there's another thing that we probably should discuss along with this. Next summer, exit 41 coming from the north will be closed. And all of the traffic will be coming into Saugatuck on exit 36. This will put a great deal of pressure on the bridge and also on Lake Street. All the traffic that comes in on exit 41 will then come in on exit 36, and Holland Street will be barely used. But I think this would be a more important topic for us to research with the city of Douglas about what we're going to do about all the traffic that's going to be on the bridge. This is going to put a real stress and strain on our fire department, on our police department, trying to get to calls through all this traffic that's going to be coming into town from the south. I think this is something that needs to be discussed and discussed with Douglas, maybe with the township. I don't know if the township will have that much input on this, but I think this is one of those things that all of the communities need to be involved in, and what we're going to do about all that traffic. And to put a bike trail in the middle of this would just be ridiculous. But, and when we do a bike trail, I think that public safety needs to be involved in this, both the sheriff, the police, and the fire department. Thank you.
I would agree. It's a kind of a different topic here, but it's certainly an important one that we're going to have to deal with. Holly, I think you had your hand up.
I just wanted to make the point that there already is a bike trail in the township. There already is a bike trail in Douglas. There just isn't one in Saugatuck. And there are more people on bikes since COVID than, I mean, we've seen an increase in bikes all over the country and in our area. So we have to be thinking about bikes just like we have to be thinking about traffic. It's part of the draw for our tourists, and we have to be thinking about our safety. And we also need to remember that we have heightened liability for not having a bike trail. That the condition of the road, the condition of the bridge is actually an issue if we had a biker that was injured. So you have less liability as a municipality if you have a bike trail than if you're sending people just on a roadway that may have, you know, not be clean or may have some obstructions. So we have to think about the safety of not just the closing of that exit and what that's going to do to traffic. We have to think about everybody. If that's, you know, moms with strollers, if it's walkers, if it's bikers. So it's holistic. That's my comment.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Yes, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I think that this structure that we have right now, this Blue Star Trail Joint Committee, is going to be the perfect structure to have those discussions on.
Exactly.
You got your people already picked out from the committees. They're going to have meeting on a regular basis. These topics are going to come up. I don't think we should create another committee to do that. I think this one could handle both of those issues.
Thanks. Gar?
Totally agree. Totally agree. It's for the committee to discuss.
Any other comments? Then let's put it to a vote. Aaron, would you call the roll, please?
Peterson?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Becken,
Yes.
Truster,
Yes. Resolution number 200928-B is approved. We have no consent agenda tonight, and so we'll open it to public comments on any issue. Again, if you would unmute yourself and announce your name and where you reside, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. Anyone?
Gary Medler, 461 Vine Street, Saugatuck.
Yes, Mr. Mulder, go ahead.
I hope you realize that you're not a party to that contested case. You're not seeking to intervene in that case. And you'll submit this resolution to the administrative law judge, and it would be inappropriate for him to even consider it since you're neither a party to it or an intervener. What I find curious is that after 4 years of the contested City Council, Planning Commission, and litigation involved with Dune Ridge, myself, and Shorewood, that City Council is acting like this is some obscure old case that you have no knowledge of. Most of you sitting on City Council sat through all of that and negotiated the settlement. Your planning director should be using my settlement documents as the manual for any transaction that occurred on Dune Ridge and to any of the individual lot owners. And those documents provide that City Council has the authority to enforce any of the conditions and restrictions in those settlement agreements. So standing isn't an issue. And I find this action tonight to be in bad faith, and I hope you reconsider what you've done and take appropriate action soon. Thank you.
All right. Any others wish to make a comment?
I'd like to make a comment. This is Barbara Lucier, 1035 Park Street. I was disappointed and concerned with the notice that was included with the packet that the absentee ballots are not yet available. Can anybody give us an update on that?
Well, we don't do a Q&A here, but maybe we can address that when we get to council comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wish to make a comment?
Mr. Mayor,
Who do we have there?
Todd
Oh,
Hoskins,
Todd, yeah, go ahead.
350 North Maple Street. I've just been reflecting on the discussion around Kirk Harrier and his departure and how hard he worked, and remembering also losing Monica Nagel as our city clerk recently. And we have 25 years of City Hall experience that's departed. And we're looking to recruit a city manager, and we think that we're a top destination. And I'm just concerned about the working conditions at City Hall. And if somebody needs to work 60 to 70 hours a week, that could completely be their own volition, but it also points to what is the environment in which they're working. And so the question that I'm asking myself is, was Kirk working too hard, or was the City Council not working hard enough?
That's it. Okay. Anyone else wish to comment? Jane, are you flagging me?
Yes, I'm flagging you again, Ken. I would like to second what Holly said regarding the number of bicycles. I'm going to bring up Park Street again because every year there seemingly are more bikes on Park Street. I've seen groups of 20 and 30. I think they come off Blue Star, come down Ferry, Park Street, and they take the ferry over across to the other side of the river. And again, it's scary. When you have that many bicycles, people get impatient. They want to get up to the beach. And again, I'm putting in this call, if something done about Park Street to make it safe for people riding bikes and walking and pushing strollers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Anyone else? I am not seeing any raised hands or voices. I'll give it. Okay, hearing none, we'll close off the public comments. Under communications, we have the Sheriff's Office Incident Analysis Report. And then we also have John Moxie's proposal, I guess, to do the non-motorized survey of Park Street, which is something I think we said that we have to do regardless when we're moving ahead with that project. Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, but does this require a council action, or is this something that we can do administratively? You're muted yet.
Sorry. You can do it administratively.
Okay, that's why it's just a communication, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then we will move to boards, commissions, and committee reports. Who has them? Mark, or do you have something from the Sewer and Water Authority?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. We met on Monday, September 21st. We had a rather lengthy discussion and presentation from our engineers from Fleeson, Van den Brink, giving us update on the 5-year water reliability study, status of their hydraulic model and hydrant flow study. That's interesting stuff, but it's basically tests to determine adequate flow of the water regarding fighting fires, and also dovetails into hydrant testing that qualifies for certain points when ISO does a survey of our firefighting capabilities in our area. We also got an update on planned wastewater sewer testing and cleaning. And we're investing about I don't know, it's more than that, probably close to $100,000 in generator projects. And we got an update on that. We accepted our fiscal year 2020 financial statement. And that's about it. Barry, you have anything to add?
I will probably, add to it. That was the yearly audit, and we came through that looking pretty good. We had a discussion about our unfunded pension, and we always learn more that goes up and down depending on employees' time of service, how long they've been there. So really nobody's ever 100% funded, but we're in very good shape on that. You did mention that water quality, we have our lead and copper testing done in 20 households in the community as required by the state, and that is into the state for review. And so people probably don't realize that the Sewer and Water Authority is very proactive in lead and copper tests. We know a lot about that from the news. So that's all I got.
Okay, thanks. Jane, Fire Board?
The Fire Board met on September 21st. We had several people that received certifications and degrees. Chris Bernardi is now an NFPA Fire Plans Examiner, and Wendy Bales received her EMT. We also received some funds from the government for PPE. We got an extractor and a dryer for turnout gear. And Peter, I see you're still on. Could you talk about the other funds that we got from the government recently?
Yes, the fire department received, it was $27,000 for the first responders payment. So each of the firefighters / EMTs were issued $1,000 checks here by the 30th of September, and that's through the CARES Act. And also then the fire department applied for the public safety hazard pay grant. Basically, we got 50% of the April and May's gross payroll,
returned to the fire department for COVID expenses.
Thanks, Pete.
Yep.
So we always stay on top of grants and funding, and I think that was a good return. And that's it.
Okay. Any other boards, commissions meet? Chris?
Yes, the planning commission met, and the majority of the time was talking about the pop-up patios and getting some ideas from the planning commission to pass on to the city council. Everybody agreed that as long as the COVID is in place, they are the thing to do, that they created a certain vibrancy, and we should do whatever we can to help the merchants. The question came up, obviously, about in the spring. The majority of them were leaning towards allowing it to start in April as opposed to March. Then two other thoughts that came up was, should the city be compensated for those public places, and also what the parking spots in the wintertime are needed specifically for the merchants. So all in all, everybody thought they were a wonderful addition to our downtowns.
Okay, thanks. We miss anything? Boards and commissions? Garn?
I'm just curious if this is a good time for Aaron and Cindy to talk about or to address Barb Lucier's concern about the absentee ballots.
Yes, well, yeah, we can do it now. I was just gonna do it in the comments, but we can do it now. Barry?
Mr. Mayor, I can do a quick committee before maybe this will close that out. And it's again, you know, we don't have a lot of people see our meetings more than ever. I think we're up to 41 today, but this is about the recycling committee that Garnet and I serve on. And from our discussions the other day, I submitted the update schedule for recycling days. It takes us out to the end of this year. And there's also a document on our webpage what can be recycled and what they're looking for. And that clarifies that they are still taking you know, all the materials and not just cardboard. And that's always subject to change according to the market. So.
Okay. We miss anybody? Cindy?
I'm ready to talk about the absentee ballots whenever you are, Mr. Mayor. So just to clarify that.
It's somewhere between boards and commissions and council comments.
Okay.
Perfect.
Just tell me when.
Go ahead.
Now?
Yes.
Okay. The city had a supply of envelopes to mail out absentee ballots, and I knew we would be running short after we used those up. So I went ahead and ordered some envelopes to mail out absentee ballots. And several days later, I got 5 boxes in a shipment from the printers. And I looked at them and I thought, those must be my envelopes. And they got put on top of a file cabinet. And a week or so later, maybe a week and a half later, the shippers called me, the printers, and said, we think we sent you somebody else's ballots by mistake. So I went and looked at the boxes, and sure enough, they were somebody else's ballots. They were not our ballots. They were not our envelopes. But I assumed, since we had the 5 boxes, that we had our envelopes. So we all know what assume means, and I will never ever accept the shipment of boxes without looking inside and seeing what's in there. But this is totally my fault. It had nothing to do with Aaron. It had nothing to do with us trying to hold ballots back, but they have to be in that secrecy envelope before they can be mailed. So there will be a delay. We'll probably get the the envelopes by Friday, and the mailing of ballots can once again begin. We did mail out the first 200 or 220 applications that we received. So we have a little bit of a backlog, but we're nowhere near any kind of a deadline. And the ballots are on their way, or the envelopes are on their way.
Thank you. Let's go then to council comments. Guard?
Yeah, I just wanted to share with everybody, as I did last week at the workshop, the recycling survey is still out. As of last Thursday, we had 563, I believe, responses and 33 business owner responses. I asked the CVB and Sadaba both to follow up with business owners, which they've done. And then the respective municipalities sent out another note on their listservs and in their newsletters. So I'll take a look at those numbers more towards the end this week, but I'm anticipating more responses as a result of everyone's help. So stay tuned.
Yep, thanks. Holly?
None at this time, Mayor.
Okay, Barry?
None at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Very well. Chris?
I do, and it was remiss of me on this with the Christmas lights. Last year, we had approximately 9,500 in the budget for that. We went back and added another 4,500, which took us about to 20 or 15,000. We received donations from that, and that came to a one-time use of 21,000. This year, there's 14,500 in the budget already for the lights. The way we did it, though, is we had to combine that and start all over anew because it was over $10,000. So when people wanted to know where the money came from, 14.5 was already in the budget. We're looking at another 6,000, or excuse me, the other, what I forgot what I had, the other 21,145. If you subtract, we're about 6,000 short. So definitely, if we get that donation, we're good to go.
Very good. Mark?
I'm good, Ken, thanks.
Okay, Jane?
I'm good.
All righty then. I want to thank everybody for participating. We had kind of a record attendance today, over 40 folks. Mr. Walsh, we're gonna look forward to hitting the ground running on the search for our city manager. I would just say perhaps sometime this week, Karen and I and you could get together and set out the game plan here so we can get going. We'll rely on your advice, of course, about how we're going to do that. So,
I'd be happy to do so.
Great. Okay. So other than that, I have no further comment, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Peterson, second.
Lewis, second.
Second by Lewis, that we adjourn. Any discussion? Would you call the roll, please, Aaron?
Peterson?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yes.
Becken?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Trester?
Yes. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Good night.